A 17-year-old Pune boy killed two people, two 24-year-old techies on a bike while driving a Porsche at high speed and under the influence of alcohol. All this got on camera. But the boy who was caught was released. He was given bail within 15 hours by the court. He was also asked to write a 300-word essay as well as receive treatment and counselling for alcohol addiction. This is not the first time. In 1999, Delhi saw Sanjeev Nanda killing 6 people with his BMW in a drink and drive case. In 2002, actor Salman Khan was released with a bail of 900 rupees in Mumbai for running over sleeping pavement dwellers. In 2016, Siddharth Sharma in Delhi was killed by a speeding Mercedes that was driven by an underage boy just 4 days short of his 18th birthday. And in 2015, in Mumbai, corporate lawyer Janvi Gadkar was released on bail 2 months after she allegedly killed 2 people in a drunk driving case. What is the law on hit and run? And what is the law for juvenile offenders who are in such hit and run cases? To discuss this, let me start by introducing my guests for the show. Joining me to discuss this are Professor Dhanraj Vanjari, former ACP Mumbai Police, Rajneesh Chunni, advocate of the Supreme Court, and my colleague Ashok Bagaria. But I first want to start by showing you 3 statistics first. More than 1.5 lakh people die in India every year due to road accidents. It's the highest death toll anywhere in the world. Now, 75% of these deaths are caused by overspeeding. And finally, the number of persons killed per 100 accidents has been increasing in India from 20.2% in 2000 to 36.5 in 2022. Gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus show. Ashok, I want to start by looking at the IPC sections that this juvenile drunk and drive case, this boy in this drunk and drive case violated 8 sections. I mean, 304A, death by rash and negligent driving, driving a vehicle in a negligent manner, causing grievous hurt by endangering life. There's cases against the father, the pub, willful neglect of a child. I mean, this is a snapshot of so many cases that we've seen in the recent past.
Well, you're right here. So basically, when you are dealing with such cases of accidents,
yes,
you are primarily booked or accused or charged under 2 provisions of law. One is the Indian Penal Code, and
yes,
second set is with respect to violation of Motor Vehicles Act.
right.
Now, as far as the Pune case is concerned, here we are dealing with a case where the child is a minor.
Right.
He is accused, or rather he is charged of killing 2 other young people who were on a bike, moving over them.
Yeah.
And here the allegation is number 1, he's caused the death.
Right.
So section 304A is
Yes.
attracted. Then negligent driving, 279 of the Indian Penal Code is attracted. 337, 338 again relate to negligent and rash driving at public places. Now, these are as far as the Indian Penal Code provisions are concerned. Now, there are violations with respect to Motor Vehicles Act also. Number 1, this child was driving without a valid license. 3 and 4, violation of Motor Vehicles Act.
Right.
Section 199A. Now, this is something which is of interest to us because 199A was introduced in the Motor Vehicles Act in 2019. There was an amendment.
Yes.
199A was introduced with the objective of fixing vicarious liability of minors to their parents.
Right.
So the idea was, when this particular proviso of law was added, the idea was that the parents who are responsible and who are the guardians of minors should also be held responsible for if their children who are being negligent and cause such accidents. Because at the end of the day, in an accident, precious lives are snuffed out.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what we're talking about here today. And, you know, Ashok, there's this 2016 case of Siddharth Sharma, 32-year-old techie who was hit by a Mercedes and died later. Rajneesh, I want to ask you about this case. You know, this 2016 case where very similar to the Pune case, where this perpetrator was just 4 days short of his 18th birthday and he ran over and killed Siddharth Sharma. The Supreme Court said that he could not be tried because he was a minor, and that it's been 6 years now. Yeah. That case is still on. What do we do in cases like this when you have a juvenile who runs over someone, who violates multiple provisions of the IPC, but still gets away very lightly because the law still recognizes him as a juvenile, right? He's not treated as an adult for these particular kinds of cases. Do we need a new law, or we just need enforcement of the existing provisions of the IPC?
Obviously, we need new laws for this particular thing. But before I proceed any further, I would like to, I'm totally dejected by what has happened day before yesterday. And
yes.
my heart goes to the family, to the whole family, and to the departed soul also. Now, what my learned colleague was saying, my learned friend was saying, see, what has happened after 2012, the Nirbhaya case. Now, in 2015, there was an amendment in the Juvenile Justice Act.
Yes.
Now, in the Juvenile Justice Act, Section 15 has come into picture. Now, Section 15 talks about a person who can be a child with the conflict of law can be considered as an adult.
Yes.
Who's between age of 16 to 18 years. Now, in this, we have one rider, one embargo. That embargo is that if the punishment is more than 7 years.
Right.
Now, what Pune police has charged this particular delinquent, or I would rather say that the abashed person, this child, he has been charged with Section 304A, if I'm not mistaken, whatever I have read in the newspapers and all, in the news and all. Now, 304 Part A is only punishable with 2 years.
Right.
Number one is this. Now, number two is we are talking about some another section also, which is Section 279, which is obviously for the rash and negligent driving, which is again punishable for 6 months.
Right.
Now, the very important, very pertinent question is: will this juvenile be treated as an adult only because of the reason he has not charged with Section 304 Part 2?
Right.
This is what has happened in the case of Salman Khan, if I am not mistaken. So ideally, what should have happened is that even though they have gone to the session court, they are challenging, they are assailing whatever the perverse thing has been done by the, I would rather term it as a very perverse, what has been done by the Juvenile Justice Board, which is constituted under Section 4. Because for them there was no reason they could have sent this particular, I would rather call him as a criminal who was on the wheels, who was moved down through young life. He could have sent to the remand home. He would have kept him there till the outcome of this particular, whatever his age, his psychology test, whether he should have been treated as an adult or he should not. This particular guy should not have been treated as an adult. Now, what happens in this is, in such cases, we question the constitution of the body, right? What I mean to say is, like, the whole members who are part of this particular committee, the Juvenile Justice Board, we can raise serious questions on them about their ability. I personally don't find there was any good reason for them to immediately grant a bail, and that too with the condition that you write an essay of 300 lines or whatever it is. Do you think he's going to write an essay of 300 lines? Or whatever it is.
Right.
Will this do justice to the departed soul? Obviously not. Now, first of all, before making the law very stringent or coming up with the new laws, what we need to do is the system, the people are sitting there who are dispensing justice, even they have to be very active. They need to know the law.
Right.
They need to be very informed.
Absolutely.
Nothing will happen. I'm telling you, no skies are going to fall. You come up with any section, our courts are overburdened, nothing is going to happen. As you were stating, what 2016-17 case, whatever the case has happened, it will take its time because obviously the courts are loaded. There are cases which are going on from 1950, 1960, 1970, 1980, still the cases are going on.
70 years, absolutely. And Rajneesh, is a very pertinent point that you mentioned, the fact that our courts are so overburdened with cases that just like this 2016 Delhi case, and the Pune case seems to be a very eerie replay of that 2016 case, and that case is still 8 years later, it's still doing the rounds. We're still waiting for justice. Professor Banjari, must the Pune juvenile accused be tried as an adult, as the Pune police are asking for?
It's a totally a responsibility of an investigating agency. And as I know, 37 years I worked in Mumbai Police and retired as ACP. I tell you, a recent trend, as per the Honorable Supreme Court, has established in some POXO cases where
Right, right.
it was judged according to the age factor and age limit. It was
Yeah.
judged whether the person is capable to make independent decision.
Right.
Minor and major,
Yes.
parent and the juvenile.
Yeah.
This equation comes when the juvenile or a minor is not in condition to make his own decision. Now,
Right.
looking into the age of this man, his psychological profiling is a
Yes.
must for investigating agency.
Right.
As I
Right.
spoke to few friends in the department in Pune Police who are remotely connected with this investigation,
Yeah.
they assured, yes, what you say is a very sensible thing, and get from the court established that
Right.
he should not be treated or no more be treated as a juvenile. So,
Yes.
moment he becomes stops to become a juvenile, he
Yeah.
becomes accused. As on today, even in the legal language, you cannot address him as accused. He
Right.
is a juvenile,
Juvenile.
boy juvenile. You can
Absolutely.
call him a juvenile. That is
Yes.
the only thing. Now, this section 304 है culpable homicide amounting to murder
Yeah.
out of the Rash and Negligence Act, whereas all other sections and has been applied.
Yeah.
Now, very conspicuously, as the first panelist has spoken,
Yes.
the provision of Motor Vehicle Act, which
Right.
bestow the responsibility not only on parents but on the owner of the vehicle. In every
Yeah.
case, it's not necessary that it's a parental vehicle. There might be a vehicle he has taken from some friend, or might be a
Yes.
vehicles he has taken from some uncle or some neighbor or this thing. So owner of vehicle is also equally important here. But finally, when it goes, I think the whole issue will matter. As you
Yes.
have quoted very nicely the statistics of the past cases of such juveniles, I
Yes.
think who should be treated juvenile, whether the age is the only criteria
Yes.
or his psychological profiling should
Yeah.
be added to it. It's a new dimension in few cases that come with Honorable Supreme Court. I think
Yeah.
that parameter should be taken into consideration by investigators.
Absolutely, very, very valid point there, Professor Vanjari. Ashok, how do you psychologically profile someone and ensure that you treat him as per the gravity of his offense?
Well, basically, this is a method basically evolved to figure out. It's a scientific method
Yeah.
based on questionnaires which the particular minor child is subjected to. He is supposed to answer, and the child is also interacts with counselors, psychiatrists, sociologists, and on the basis of that interaction and that questionnaire that minor answers,
Yes.
a conclusion is drawn
Right.
that the understanding of the minor
Yeah.
is that of a minor or is it that of an adult.
Right.
If the court comes to a conclusion that the understanding of the minor is that of an adult,
Right.
that particular juvenile can be tried as an adult. And it has happened, as rightly pointed out, that, you know, in many POXO cases,
Yes.
there have been perpetrators of these heinous offences who are almost on the cusp of minority majority.
So the last time this happened, Ashok, is the Nirbhaya case in
Yes.
December 2012. So
Yeah.
just run us through that case, because a lot of our viewers might not be familiar with
basically, what we were dealing with in Nirbhaya case was there were 5 sets of accused.
Right.
Okay, there were 2 who were minors. So what happens is, the moment, even if a minor is involved in a grievous or a heinous offense of rape and murder, the law recognizes the minor as a juvenile.
Right.
And in legal terms, that particular juvenile is called a child in conflict with law.
Right.
And the whole idea of the Juvenile Justice Act,
Yes.
which is a beneficial piece of legislation,
Right.
and is designed to protect people with understanding of that of a minor, so that when they go back, when they become major,
They're reformed and they go
they're
back to
reformed
society.
and they can get acclimatized or mainstreamed into the society. Now in the Nirbhaya case, again this particular controversy arose and this whole debate started, whether these people, these 2 youngsters who were involved in the rape, should they be treated as adults or minors. Now,
Right.
at least in one case, the Juvenile Justice Board came to a conclusion that the one accused cannot be treated as an adult.
Right.
So, but see, that does not in any way, it's very easy for us to sit and speak about the gravity or the
Right.
grievousness of the offense.
Right.
But at the end of the day, there is a system in place, there is a law in place.
Yes.
We'll have to act in the confines of that law.
Right. Rajneesh, you think this, as Professor Vanjari was mentioning, this thing of psychological profiling of juveniles to see whether they can be tried as adults. I mean, how controversial is this? Has this been tried? Are there any moves to ensure that such, serious cases are tried under this?
Yes, see, this is an amendment which has been carried out in the Juvenile Justice Act for 2017, wherein
Yes.
this provision has come into play, wherein it has been stated that a psychological test of a person of the delinquent or the juvenile has to be done. In case of ascertaining whether he is an adult, he has to be treated as an adult or he has to be treated as a juvenile.
Yeah.
But before proceeding any further, if you remember, I was just talking about the Lester Preza case, right? This Lester Preza case happened in 2012.
Yes.
Now it was parallel on this particular case. See what will happen. There in the Honorable Supreme Court said, very categorically the Supreme Court said, we need to revisit section 304 part A.
Yes.
It was said 12 years back, more than a decade back, right?
Right.
Now what is the stand today? What is there with section 304A? We can sit here, we can talk for donkey years, we can keep on talking, we can have discussions, we can continue for yonks and yonks, but the point is, the very moot question is that what will happen in this case, even if the matter goes to the sessions court. The Pune police have challenged this particular thing. They have gone to the
Yes.
sessions court. They have challenged the bail or the bail granted to the juvenile. Now the very pertinent question here is, even when the session court has to deal with this particular thing, the session court has to be, the session court has to confine within the parameters of the Juvenile Justice Act. Now, if the Juvenile Justice Act, if it would have been murder, the situation would have been different.
Right.
If it would have been rape, the situation would have been very, very different. We talk about Nirbhaya, we talk about rest of the cases, the situation was very different.
Right.
But herein, when the person who be charged only with section 304A, you tell me how the person would not be granted bail. And what has happened for the past 12 years when the Mr. Pereira, he moved on, if my memory serves me right, it was 7 or 8 people who were moved on by that guy. What has
Right.
happened? He was sentenced for 3 years. After that, law did not change. 304A remains as it is. And we expect justice to take place.
304A, Professor Vanjari, need to revisit section 304A as Rajneesh was suggesting. And why is it taken so long?
Yes, always there is a space of possibility there. And I think nothing is wrong in that to reach or extend this section. But the wording is very clear. Culpable homicide amounting to murder, 304A. The word murder is also there.
Yes.
But this act is out of rash and negligence. Now, I would just add one thing with psychological profiling. As it has been said, yes, it's not merely questioning.
Yes.
As we do in narco cases, it's a
Yes.
phenomena of brain mapping.
Right.
And brain mapping nowadays is called advanced terminology, digital brain mapping, which says the decision-making mechanism, cellular mechanism in the brain is enough mature and is at place. Means
Right.
not deviated or not, the child is not mandabuddhi and all this
Yes.
kind of thing comes. Now, second factor in this case, which corroborate very much to this fact, the vehicle was at the speed of 230 kilometers per hour at the time of accident.
Right.
Now, 230 has not been suddenly gone. The person driving, the juvenile, so-called juvenile,
Yeah.
was in charge of the vehicle and he was increasing speed, maybe 70, 80, 100, 150, 200 and it became 230. So he was quite sure that let me drive with a higher speed.
Right.
Drink and he was drunken. That is another one more dimension we can
Yes.
take into consideration scientifically through medical and forensic experts. Their views will contribute a valid input. I think in this case, not only scientific, not only digital, the circumstantial and other all evidences which are responsible for such kind of heinous act where the two people have lost their life.
Right.
And as it has been pointed out rightly, that there is a time, we are in modern era, there is
Yes.
a time to look forward to extend the application and operational utility of section 304A.
Right. Absolutely. A fit case for section 304A in this case, Ashok.
I'll just like
Yeah.
to add to what was just said, See, if you look at the difference between 304A
Yeah.
and 304 Part 2,
Right.
there is a word which differentiates both these sections. In 304 Part 2, there is a word called intention.
Right.
Now, when you make out a case against an individual saying that 304 Part 2 offence is made out, which is heavier offence,
Yeah.
where the provision of law says that you cause death,
Right.
and by your actions, when you had the knowledge or intention that your actions will cause death,
Yeah.
and it carries a higher punishment of up to 10 years in jail.
Yes.
So here, when we deal with this case, it's a hypothetical situation, you know, where we're dealing with a case where this young 17-year-old kid
Yes.
is high on alcohol, sits in his, supercharged vehicle.
Yes.
And he's driving at 230 kilometers, as said by
Right.
one of the panelists.
Yeah.
Here, the problem is, how do you prove that he had the intention or knowledge? The kid was already drunk,
Yes. Inebriated. or
inebriated.
Driving under influence.
Influence of
Yeah.
alcohol.
Yeah.
How do you make out a case? Although there are instances
Yes.
where, even if you are drunk, the responsibility is higher on the person who's drunk
Right.
to avoid using the vehicles.
Yes.
But here we are dealing with a minor, not an adult.
Right. Absolutely. Very peculiar case
Yeah.
here.
Facts
and
of the
Professor
case are very
Vanjari-
peculiar.
Yes. Yes, Professor Anjari.
One last sentence I will
Yes.
add. Very valid point has been touched up by Mr. Ashok. Intention and having knowledge.
Yes.
Having knowledge of rash and negligent, which likely to cause the death.
Right.
There is absolutely no connection with intention. He
Yes.
has no intention. He has not followed the bike and he has not given them dash intentionally to kill. It is
Yes.
true. But he had a knowledge. Anybody for that case would have been on the road, would have
Right.
been killed by this accident. This is obvious. Having knowledge that my act is likely to cause not damage but death of human being, it is
Right.
enough, I
Right.
think.
Absolutely. That's the knowledge of that act would be enough, Ashok. The fact that this boy knew very well that when he stepped on that accelerator and turned his car into a cruise missile, heading down Pune's crowded roads, this is what his act would have caused, and this is indeed what's happened. We have two grieving families left in the wake of this tragedy of drinking, driving, an adolescent who probably didn't know the impact of what he caused, but in the end, it's left us all debating something that we've seen with increased frequency on India's roads. As India's roads expand, more affluent Indians are able to afford the kind of vehicles that are being seen on these roads, and these vehicles are causing death, destruction, and leaving behind grieving families. But this is the phenomenon that we're looking at, brash kids and killer cars, and we'll be looking at this Pune case very closely to see if it's going to be any different from the cases that we've seen in the past. But thank you very much, Professor Vanjari, Rajneesh, and my colleague Ashok Bagaria for joining us this evening to talk on brash kids and killer cars.